Have you ever thought your refrigerator was the safest place for your food? A silent guardian that keeps everything fresh and wholesome? What if I told you that, for some of the most common foods we eat every day, the fridge might actually be doing more harm than good, slowly turning your trusted staples into potential health hazards? Every year, millions fall ill from foodborne illnesses, and older adults are especially vulnerable because their immune systems aren't as strong as before. The frightening truth is, many of these risks begin right in our own refrigerators. In this video, I'll reveal the 9 everyday foods you should never store in the fridge, and explain why. From hidden chemical changes to nutrient loss and even dangerous toxins, the way you store food could be quietly impacting your health. Stay with me. What you learn today might just save your health, your family's well-being, or even your life. Let's dive in. 1. Potatoes, that familiar food you need to handle with care. Potatoes are one of the most common and beloved foods worldwide. We use them in countless dishes, from crispy fries to creamy mashed potatoes, or even simple roasted potatoes. Because they are such a staple, it's natural to want to store them in a way that keeps them fresh and tasty. But here's a surprising fact: storing raw potatoes in the refrigerator is actually harmful, especially for older adults. Why shouldn't you keep potatoes in the fridge? When potatoes are kept at cold temperatures, especially below about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, 10 degrees Celsius, like inside most refrigerators, a hidden chemical process starts inside their cells. The starches, complex carbohydrates, in the potato convert into sugars faster than usual. At first, that might not sound like a big deal, but this sugar buildup sets the stage for something problematic. When you cook or bake those refrigerated potatoes at high heat, the sugars react with amino acids, building blocks of protein, in a process called the Maillard reaction, producing a compound called acrylamide. Why does that matter? Acrylamide is a chemical that animal studies have linked to cancer. While research in humans is still ongoing, many health experts recommend limiting exposure to it as a precaution, especially for seniors, who are more vulnerable to environmental toxins. What about texture and taste? Cold storage also negatively affects how potatoes feel and taste. Instead of being firm and fluffy, potatoes kept in the fridge tend to become grainy, mushy, and develop a darkened color, signs that oxidation and nutrient loss are occurring. This is why you might have noticed your roasted potatoes taste strangely sweet or have an odd texture after you stored them cold. It's not your imagination, it's the chemistry inside the potato changing due to the fridge. I remember a patient, Mrs. Evans, an active woman in her 70s who loved cooking but often suffered from digestive discomfort. She stored her potatoes in the refrigerator to keep them fresh but frequently complained about stomach upset after eating meals with potatoes. After discussing with her, I recommended she stop refrigerating them and instead store potatoes in a cool, dark, dry place like a pantry. Within a few weeks, she noticed her digestion improved, and she found the potatoes tasted better and cooked more evenly. It's a small change, but it made a meaningful difference to her well-being. How should you store potatoes correctly? So, if not in the fridge, then where? Store raw potatoes in a cool, around 45 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit or 7 to 10 degrees Celsius, dark, and dry place with good ventilation. Avoid storing potatoes in plastic bags. Use paper bags, baskets, or mesh sacks to allow airflow. keep potatoes away from onions. Together, they release gases that cause faster spoilage. If potatoes start to sprout lightly, trim the sprouts before cooking. Don't eat potatoes that are green or smell off. As a health professional focused on nutrition and aging, I can't stress enough how important proper storage of potatoes is. It not only preserves the taste and texture but also protects your health by minimizing the formation of harmful compounds. Next time you bring home a bag of potatoes, give them a cozy spot in your pantry instead of the fridge. Your meals will taste better, and your body will thank you. 2. Bread. Why your fridge isn't the best place for your loaf. Bread is a beloved staple in many households, a simple comfort food that can brighten any meal. Especially for seniors, bread is easy to digest, versatile, and often part of daily routines. So it makes sense that many people want to keep their bread fresh for as long as possible. But here's the catch. Putting bread in the refrigerator actually speeds up the process of it going stale. What's really going on inside your bread in the fridge? When bread is chilled, the starch molecules inside begin a process called retrogradation. Simply put, this means the starches start to crystallize. It's not a slow process that takes weeks. It begins almost immediately after you put your bread in the fridge. This crystallization pulls moisture away from the bread's soft structure, turning your fresh, fluffy loaf into something tough, dry, and crumbly. Have you ever bitten into a sandwich and felt the bread was oddly hard or dry? If that bread came from the fridge, this is why. It's more than just stale bread. Mold can sneak in too. The fridge is cold. Dry air can cause bread to lose moisture unevenly. When you take bread out and warm it up, damp spots can form inside, creating the perfect environment for mold spores to grow. Mold isn't just gross. Some molds produce mycotoxins, harmful substances that can affect health, especially in older adults with less robust immune defenses. What should you do instead? The best way to keep bread fresh day to day is to store it at room temperature, in a bread box or a sealed container that keeps air and moisture balanced. This keeps the bread soft and flavorful for a few days. If you want to keep bread longer, freezing is your friend. Slice the loaf first, then freeze it. When you need a slice or two, simply thaw those pieces. The bread will taste almost as fresh as new. Freezing stops mold growth and prevents staling without drying the bread out or ruining texture. I once spoke with a senior gentleman who kept his bread in the fridge because he thought it would keep longer. Over time, he found sandwiches less enjoyable because the bread was dry and tough. After switching to freezing slices and thawing only what he needed, he noticed the bread tasted fresher and he wasted far less food. 3. Onions. Why your fridge might be spoiling these little flavor bombs. Onions are the heart and soul of so many dishes, from comforting soups to sizzling stir-fries. They bring that rich, savory flavor we all love. So naturally, we want to keep them fresh and tasty for as long as possible. But here's the thing, putting onions in the fridge might actually be doing more harm than good. What really happens when onions get chilly? Whole onions come wrapped in a dry, papery skin, nature's way of keeping them safe and flavorful. When you put onions in a cold, damp fridge, that protective skin gets overwhelmed by moisture. This makes onions soggy, soft, and prone to sprouting or even growing mold, not exactly the kind of freshness we want. And what about the smell? If you've ever opened your fridge and been hit by a sudden onion aroma, or worse, found your butter tasting like onions, you know what I'm talking about. Onions release sulfur compounds that are super potent. In the cold fridge air, these smells spread faster and cling to other foods like butter, cheese, even fruit. It's like your fridge becomes a little onion party nobody asked for. Once you slice an onion, it becomes even more vulnerable. Even if you wrap it up, it can quickly become a breeding ground for bacteria if kept too long. For seniors or anyone with a sensitive stomach, this is definitely something to watch out for. So, how should we store onions? Keep whole onions in a cool, dry, and well-ventilated spot. Think pantry or a meshed bag hung somewhere with good airflow. Avoid plastic bags or sealed containers that trap moisture. Only refrigerate onions once they are cut, and make sure they are tightly wrapped or stored in an airtight container, and use them within a day or two. And a little tip: don't store onions and potatoes side by side. They don't get along well and spoil each other faster. I've seen many friends and seniors switch to storing onions outside the fridge and notice they last longer, taste better, and their kitchens smell so much nicer. Sometimes, small changes like this bring big joys, and save money by wasting less food. 4. Tomatoes. Why the fridge steals their flavor, texture, and nutrients. Tomatoes are truly one of the gems of the kitchen. Juicy, vibrant, and packed with bright, fresh flavor. Whether you slice them raw on a salad, roast them in the oven, or simmer them into a rich sauce, tomatoes add a unique zest that's hard to replace. But here's something most people don't realize: tomatoes and cold storage just don't mix well. What exactly happens when you put tomatoes in the fridge? Tomatoes are tropical fruits, evolved to ripen in warm environments. When exposed to cold temperatures, typically below 55 degrees Fahrenheit, about 13 degrees Celsius, the enzymes responsible for ripening slow down or stop altogether. Ripening is not just about turning red. It's when tomatoes develop their natural sugars, acids, and aromatic compounds that give them that perfect balance of sweetness and tang, as well as their rich, juicy texture. Put simply, when you chill tomatoes, you interrupt this magical process. The result? Tomatoes that are bland, watery, and mealy, a far cry from the flavorful fruit you expect. How does chilling affect texture? Cold temperatures cause the cell walls in tomato flesh to break down unevenly. This results in a rubbery or mushy texture rather than the firm but juicy bite we love. Have you ever bitten into a fridge cold tomato only to find it grainy or soggy? That's why. Vitamin C, one of the key antioxidants tomatoes offer, is very sensitive to temperature changes. When tomatoes are stored in the fridge, the vitamin C content can degrade rapidly, reducing their health benefits. So by chilling tomatoes, you not only lose flavor and texture, you're also losing important nutrients that support your immune system and overall health. The best way to store tomatoes: keep tomatoes at room temperature, away from direct sunlight, ideally in a single layer so air can circulate. If possible, store tomatoes stem side down to help preserve moisture and slow spoilage. Use tomatoes promptly once they are ripe. If they start to become overripe, cook them into sauces, soups, or stews instead of refrigerating. If you must refrigerate very ripe tomatoes, let them come back to room temperature before eating to help restore some flavor. Think of tomatoes like delicate little treasures. They thrive best in a cozy, warm spot, not a cold fridge. When you treat them kindly, you'll enjoy sweeter, juicier, and more nutritious tomatoes every time. 5. Garlic, the powerful superfood that needs gentle care. Garlic is often hailed as a superfood, packed with sulfur compounds like allicin that help boost immunity, fight infections, and even support heart health. Many seniors love adding garlic to their meals for its flavor and health benefits. But here's the catch: storing garlic in the fridge can quickly rob it of its power, and even create health risks. What happens to garlic in the cold? Whole garlic bulbs are naturally designed to last weeks or even months when kept in a cool, dry, well-ventilated spot, like a pantry. When placed in the fridge, the cold and moisture cause the cloves to sprout prematurely. These sprouts make the garlic taste bitter and rubbery, a big change from the sharp, pungent flavor you expect. Even worse, the sprouting signals that the garlic's beneficial compounds like allicin are breaking down, so you'll lose much of the health-boosting effects. If you store chopped or minced garlic in oil and keep it in the fridge without proper acidification, like adding lemon juice or vinegar, you risk creating a breeding ground for Clostridium botulinum bacteria, the cause of botulism. Botulism is a rare but very serious illness that can lead to paralysis and even death if untreated. The FDA warns against storing garlic in oil without acid or refrigeration safeguards, but many people aren't aware of this risk. Best ways to store garlic: keep whole bulbs in a dry, cool, ventilated place. Mesh bags or open baskets work well. Use chopped garlic quickly, and if storing in oil, add acid like vinegar or lemon juice, and refrigerate carefully. Avoid refrigerating whole garlic bulbs to preserve flavor and health properties. From my experience working with seniors, many have noticed that garlic stored properly lasts longer and tastes better. It's a simple habit that keeps this powerful food safe and effective. 6. Coffee, why your fridge is stealing the soul from your beings. For many of us, coffee isn't just a drink, it's a sacred ritual, a comforting moment, and a daily boost of energy and joy. The rich aroma, the complex flavors, and even the health benefits from its antioxidants make coffee truly special, especially for seniors who cherish that morning cup. But here's a surprising truth: the fridge, which we often trust to keep things fresh, is actually the worst place for your coffee beans or grounds. The science behind coffee's thirst. Coffee beans and grounds are highly hygroscopic, meaning they act like tiny sponges, soaking up moisture and odors from their surroundings. Inside your refrigerator, surrounded by fruits, vegetables, cheeses, and leftovers with strong and varied smells, coffee beans absorb all sorts of unwanted aromas: garlic, onions, citrus, and more. This contamination dulls the pure, complex flavors that make coffee so wonderful. Imagine brewing your perfect cup only to discover hints of your last dinner lingering in the taste. Disappointing, isn't it? Every time you open your fridge door, warm moist air rushes in and then cools, causing condensation. This moisture settles on your coffee beans or grounds, making them clump together. This dampness speeds up the staling process, breaks down essential oils, and robs coffee of its body, aroma, and mouthfeel. These oils also carry chlorogenic acids, powerful antioxidants that support heart and brain health, crucial benefits for older adults. A damp environment inside a non-airtight container can also lead to mold growth, turning your precious coffee into a health hazard. To keep coffee at its best, use opaque, airtight containers that block light and seal out moisture. Store coffee in a cool, dark cupboard at room temperature, not in the fridge or freezer. Buy coffee in amounts you can consume within a few weeks to ensure freshness. A dear friend of mine, Mr. Lee, a lively gentleman in his late 70s, loved his morning coffee ritual. For years, he stored his coffee in the fridge, thinking it kept the beans fresh longer. One morning, after brewing, he noticed his coffee tasted off, bitter and dull. Confused, he complained, "It's like my coffee is haunted by last night's garlic chicken." We had a laugh, then I explained how the fridge absorbs and transfers odors. He moved his coffee to a sealed container on a pantry shelf. Within days, Mr. Lee's coffee regained its familiar rich aroma and vibrant flavor. He told me, "I never knew my fridge was stealing my coffee's soul. Now my mornings taste like mornings again." Your morning brew deserves the best care, so it can deliver that perfect cup every time. 7. Honey, nature's timeless elixir that demands gentle storage. Honey is more than just a sweetener. It is a complex, living substance crafted by bees that has been treasured for thousands of years for its remarkable medicinal and nutritional properties. Its unique composition includes enzymes, antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, and potent antibacterial agents. For those who truly understand honey's complexity, proper storage is essential to preserve its purity and health benefits, and refrigeration is not the answer. What happens chemically when honey is refrigerated? When honey is exposed to cold temperatures, its natural sugars, primarily glucose and fructose, tend to crystallize rapidly. This crystallization transforms the honey from a smooth, viscous liquid into a hard, grainy mass. While crystallization itself is harmless and reversible, it creates micro-air pockets within the honey. These pockets encourage moisture ingress when the container is repeatedly opened and closed, introducing water that catalyzes fermentation. Fermentation not only sours honey but can also degrade or deactivate the sensitive enzymes like glucose oxidase that produce hydrogen peroxide, the compound largely responsible for honey's antimicrobial action. Low temperatures suppress the activity of natural enzymes and reduce the bioavailability of antioxidants in honey, such as flavonoids and phenolic acids. This diminishes honey's ability to combat oxidative stress and microbial infections, especially significant for older adults relying on natural remedies for health maintenance. To maintain honey's exceptional qualities over time, store honey in a tightly sealed glass jar at stable room temperature, ideally between 20 to 25 degrees Celsius, 68 to 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Keep it away from direct sunlight and heat sources, which can accelerate degradation. If crystallization occurs, gently warm the honey jar in a water bath below 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit, to dissolve crystals without damaging delicate enzymes or altering flavor. As someone deeply familiar with natural products and their impact on health, I've witnessed how honey's power can be lost through careless storage. I recall my grandmother's kitchen, where honey was always kept in a cool, shaded corner, never in the fridge. She believed honey was alive, needing gentle care like a precious medicine. Once, I tried refrigerating honey myself, thinking it would prolong shelf life. Instead, I found it crystallized hard as rock and lost much of its delicate aroma and smoothness. Since then, I treat honey with the respect it deserves. Stored properly, its health-giving magic endures for years. 8. Bananas. Why the fridge is a cold prison for these tropical treasures. Bananas are one of the world's most popular fruits. Sweet, convenient, and packed with potassium and other nutrients essential for heart and muscle health. For seniors, bananas are often a go-to snack because they are easy to digest and provide quick energy. But bananas are tropical fruits through and through, and cold temperatures can be their worst enemy. What happens when you put bananas in the fridge? When unripe or even ripe bananas are placed in the fridge, the cold halts the ripening enzymes that develop their natural sugars and flavors. As a result, the bananas may never ripen properly or continue to ripen in a way that damages their texture and taste. The skin quickly darkens to a dull gray or black. This discoloration is actually a sign of chilling injury. The cold damages the fruit cells underneath the peel. Under the blackened skin, the banana flesh often becomes mushy and develops off flavors, sometimes metallic or bitter. Bananas contain antioxidants like dopamine and catechins, which help protect brain health and reduce oxidative stress, particularly important for aging cells. Refrigerating bananas accelerates the loss of these valuable compounds, reducing their health benefits. If overripe bananas are refrigerated, moisture builds up inside the peel, creating a breeding ground for mold, a health risk especially for seniors. How to store bananas properly. Keep bananas at room temperature, ideally hanging or placed in a bowl with good air circulation. Wait until bananas are fully ripe before considering refrigeration, and only briefly. If you have too many ripe bananas, peel and freeze them in containers for smoothies or baking. Treat bananas like the tropical gems they are. They thrive in warmth and air. I've seen many seniors discover how much better bananas taste and how much more energy they get when they avoid the fridge and store bananas the right way. 9. Olive oil. Why cold storage can turn your heart-healthy oil against you. Olive oil is celebrated worldwide as a cornerstone of the Mediterranean diet, prized for its heart-healthy fats and rich antioxidants. Many seniors rely on olive oil daily for cooking and drizzling to support cardiovascular health and reduce inflammation. But here's the catch. Refrigerating olive oil can actually damage its delicate chemical structure and reduce its health benefits. What happens to olive oil in the fridge? At cold temperatures, olive oil undergoes solidification. The fatty acids crystallize, turning the oil cloudy and semi-solid. While this isn't harmful by itself, the repeated temperature swings caused by taking the oil in and out of the fridge create stress on its molecular bonds. This process accelerates oxidation, producing free radicals and harmful compounds that promote inflammation, the opposite of what olive oil is valued for. Oxidized olive oil loses its antioxidants and anti-inflammatory properties. For seniors, this means diminished protection against joint pain, digestive issues, and cardiovascular risks. The solidified oil also becomes harder to pour and measure, increasing the chance of spills or using too much, adding unnecessary calories. Cold storage also dulls olive oil's fruity, peppery flavor notes that make it such a joy to use. How to keep olive oil at its best. Store olive oil in a dark glass or metal container away from heat sources like the stove. Keep it in a cool, stable environment, ideally between 57 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 14 to 21 degrees Celsius. Avoid frequent temperature changes by keeping the bottle in one place. Properly stored, high-quality olive oil can retain its flavor and benefits for up to 2 years. Understanding olive oil's sensitivity to temperature changes is key to preserving its incredible health benefits. Treat it like the precious elixir it is, and your body, especially your heart and joints, will thank you. Now that you know the hidden dangers lurking in your fridge, it's time to take control. Small changes in how you store your everyday foods can make a huge difference, not only preserving their flavor and nutrition but protecting your health, especially if you're a senior or caring for loved ones who are. Remember, your kitchen is your first line of defense for a healthy life. Treat your food with care, store it wisely, and it will reward you with vitality and well-being. If this video helped you see your fridge in a new light, please like, share, and subscribe, so more people can benefit from this knowledge. And tell me in the comments, which of these foods surprised you the most? What changes will you make starting today? Thank you for watching, and here's to your health and happiness.